Alrighty guys, so I played a bunch more matches. I played one kind of like a tournament with the deck. Played against a bunch of decks. I played against Birthing Pod, Tempered Steel, red deck wins, green Wolf Run, Ramp, whatever that deck is, Solar Flare, blue Control, green white humans. I played against a bunch of decks, illusions, and this is the deck list that I've come up with so far. There is a couple of different differences between this deck and the one that I posted in the other video. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get to the decks. I'm running 4 Waif. Waif is just amazing. I mean, it's probably my favorite card in the deck. Turn 1, when you have a mountain or a crag and one of her in hand, she's usually good for 6 damage before they'll draw a way to get her off the board. I mean, she's just great. A lot of people still miss Goblin Guide, but in my opinion, she's a little bit better because she doesn't give your opponent those pluses. There's no real drawback to her. She becomes a 3/2, I would say about 60% of the time on your turn 2. And she's an excellent open, especially when you're going first. So up next, I'm running the 4 copies of the Mayor of Avabruck. He's really good. If you want to see what the flipped image is, I'll have their names down below. You can just go ahead and look them up on Gather and see what they do on the flip side. On this side, he gives all human creatures you control +1/1. On the flip, he gives all wolf and werewolf creatures you control +1/1, and spawns a 2/2 token, which with his bonus becomes a 3/3. This guy is just ridiculous. When you have 2 of them on the field, you're spawning 2 tokens every turn that are 3/3s. Actually, they're 4/4 tokens. I mean, it's just ridiculous the advantage he gives. He really takes over games by himself. If he was a 2/2, I would prefer him to be a 2/2, but I understand why that's too broken. Every once in a while you will get trolled by those random Infect Proliferate decks or Infect whatever decks. But other than that, he's pretty good. Definitely one of my favorite cards of the deck. Okay, so up next, the best card in the deck in my opinion, for Kruin Outlaw. She makes it so all your werewolves have to be blocked by 2 creatures. She's a 2/2 first striker for 3, not too bad in human form. On the flip, she becomes a 3/3 double striker with the effect that all wolf and werewolf creatures you control need to be blocked by 2 creatures. With her flip, you can just use your burn spell to start snapping out some of their creatures and then push for game with that. She's an excellent card. If they can't block her, all your wolves are getting in for really good damage, and it really forces your opponent to think whether or not they really want to attack, and it forces them to leave open, an even amount of blockers for your guys. So it's an excellent card, my favorite in the deck, the best 3-drop in my opinion. The double red kind of hurts a little bit, and I did try it out at 3, but I couldn't help it, went back to 4, it's just too good. So, 4 Kruin Outlaw. Now up next, the first change really to the deck, I'm running 3 Daybreak Ranger. So why did I go down from 3 to 4? From 4 to 3, excuse me. Reason number 1, there's just not that many really good flyers in the format. I feel like this card was designed, the 2 damage, to get really good at getting rid of Glinthawk, which is a pretty easy card to spam for Tempered Steel, and is really one of their better cards in my opinion. But I mean, he's good. He gets rid of Inkmoth Nexus on the human side. There's not really any huge flyers. I mean, he gets rid of birds on this side as well. But the fact that it's tap to destroy really, really slows him down. If it was just like a green mana or red mana to destroy, it would be awesome. On the flip, he becomes a 4/4 that fights any creature. Really good. But he just gets removed so fast, and he's really kind of slow for the deck. But 3 of him's pretty good. 4, you're not getting your utility out of the deck, and you really want to keep this deck under a certain amount of creatures. But he's good, so 3 of those. Up next, 3 Instigator Gangs. A lot of people run 4, I run 3. Really helps you get better hands, really speeds up the deck running 3. Running 4, you kind of dead draw it just a little bit opening hand. You don't really want it in your opening hand because you're not going to drop it until turn 4 at best. But it's a great card. On the human side, attacking creatures you control get +1/0. On the flip, he becomes a monster. It gives your creatures +3/0 if they attack, and it has trample. An excellent card. Him plus Kruin Outlaw on the flip is 20 damage by itself. Pretty amazing when you can swing for 20 damage on turn 5 with just 2 cards. So really good card, excellent card for the deck. And then my last two creatures, two Phyrexian Metamorphs. The ruling on DFCs is that when you copy a DFC with this guy, you don't have to worry about the whole transform mechanic anymore. My favorite card to copy is either Mayor of Avabruck or the Kruin Outlaw flipped, and because on the human forms they also count as werewolves, so your opponent still has to block your humans with two creatures. And a lot of times you're not going to want to do that, so you get in those like 2 or 3 damage per turn, and then eventually it kind of snowballs into something huge when you can just shrine them for game. So Phyrexian Metamorph is an amazing card. You can copy their stuff, you can copy their Wormcoil engines, you can copy their Phyrexian Crusaders, you can copy their Skill Tricks, the Blight Dragon. I mean, there's just so many cards you can copy that are really good in the format, so excellent choice of the two of. I definitely recommend it if you're not playing it. Really, really give it a try. It's a really good card. So, onto my spells. I am running 1, 2, 3, 4 Shocks. Shock is an excellent card. There's just so many small creatures in the game. In the last build, I think I was not running any Shocks. I was actually running 4 Incinates and 3 Brimstone Volleys. Definitely regret that. Not as good as a lineup. And a lot of times the 2 damage is, this is also the reason why I dropped down Beast Within in my deck, just because a lot of times I was just doing the Beast Within on a 2-drop, like a really important 2-drop that my opponent would bring out. Slows down humans, really just messes up the ramp decks. You can get rid of their birds pretty fast, just everything. Illusions, you can just blow them up. It's an excellent card. I mean, I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's just a good card. It's 1-drop. You can just open up the mountain and pass, and then if they pretty much, you can just get rid of their first turn play, and it's pretty good. So 4 Shocks. Up next, Incinerate. I run 3. It's a good card, but like I said, the 2 damage was a little bit more relevant every. I'd be incinerating on a 2 toughness creature. So that's why I went ahead and dropped it to 3. It's an excellent card though, and it really does put in work, helps you push for that extra 3 damage per game, gets your opponent down to that really not the important number of 4 for burn, because from 4 you can pretty much take control of the game, and they'll be really apprehensive to do anything once they're at 4 life. So 3 Incinerate, it's good, but it's not as good, it's not good enough to run 4, so Shock took the 4-drop for the burn spell. Up next, another change to the build, 4 Moonmist. Sorry about that. Last time I was running 3. It dead draws, but after the tournament I realized that Moonmist is never really a dead draw because you can just live for another turn regardless. But it's really good. I regret bringing it down to 4, and I felt like my tournament report will reflect that I really didn't have the Moonmist when I needed it. Opening hand of a Moonmist is always fun. And not having to worry about what your opponent... Okay, sorry about that guys, the camera ended up dying, so let's try to speed this up right now. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Up next we have 2 Shrine of Burning Rages. Shrine's an excellent card. It really puts your opponent on a clock. I mean, it's just amazing. Game 1. Game 2, they might side an artifact removal for it, but it's just a really good card. You cast so many red spells in this deck that those counters really start adding up. It's an excellent card. I mean, it's won me many games, gotten rid of huge threats for me, gotten rid of Titans and stuff like that. It's an excellent card. I only run 2. I've seen some people run 3, but when I did it, it was kind of more of a burden because I'd always have to keep 3 mana open for it. But it's a personal preference right now for 2. Some people run 3, some people run 2, some people run none. I like it at 2, and it tests well for me, so 2 Burning Rage. Okay, so up next we have 2 Beasts Within. Last build I was running 3, this one I'm running 2. The 3-drop is a really crucial, really tight spot for this deck. And giving your opponent a 3/3 creature is really a big deal, so I'm keeping it at 2 right now. I had it at 3. I know some of the Green Wolf ramp decks run 4 of them, but then again they do have mana acceleration, which I don't have. So I'm running it at 2. 3 kind of drew too often, and I believe I dropped 1 for a shock, so it's testing out alright. So 2 Beasts Within. And last card of the main, last non-land card of the main deck, 2 Brimstone Volley down from 3, and down from 4 on my original testing. It's a really good card. I would say more often than not I'm casting it as an expensive Incinerate, I would say about 65% of the time I'm casting it as an expensive Incinerate. But when I do cast it with Morbid, it is amazing. Holy cow, just getting rid of 5 life with 3 mana is ridiculous. So it's going to stay at 2. It's just an excellent card. It's an instant. It really just, I mean, I don't even know what to say. You just chump block something and then just get them for 5. And in this deck, being under 16 is really like, wow. I mean, being under anything close to 13, or you know, so any life like that where you can just pump and swing for game with your double strikers, or I mean, you're just really putting them in a bad spot to be 15, to be at 15 life theoretically. So Brimstone Volley is an excellent card for that. Let me move the tripod real quick. Sorry for that. So 2 Brimstone Volley. So rather than bore you with a bunch of land, we're running 8 mountains. You know, or excuse me, 7 mountains. We're running 7 mountains. Only 7 mountains. In my testing, 8 was really good, but you did draw those hands where you had way too many lands. So I ended up taking it down to 7. It's been testing extremely well. Every once in a while I get mana screwed, but I'll take it over getting too much mana. Up next we have the 6 forests. You're running 6 forests. You don't really have any like double green cards in the deck. And 6 forests is just there for just having that extra land. You do have cards that require green, but you have no green 1-drop, so for now the 7 and 6 works out pretty well. If I ever did come into issues, I mean, I'd probably drop maybe a burn spell for an extra land. So yeah, we have 4 Copperline Gorges. Excellent card. I've seen some people only run 3 and then put in another mountain. You can do that, personal preference, but I mean, I like it at this way. Every once in a while it will come in to kind of haunt you, but being able to have this in your opening hand and have that extra chance to have that turn 1 wave is just amazing. And actually some people do try to exchange these for a forest, and they end up getting mana screwed sometimes. So up next, 4 Rootbound Crag. You really have to run 4 and 4 of the tap lands, just for consistency and stuff like that, and being able to pretty much always be able to have the land you need for the card that you want to drop. So Rootbound Crag's definitely a must in the deck, and you pretty much have to run 4, no more, no less. And last but not least, 2 Kessig Wolf Runs. I don't really know what to say about this card. I've used the pump in 20 matches. I've used the pump like 4 or 5 times. But when it's good, it's great, and the other rest of the times it's just average. But a lot of people see this as a staple of the deck. It's really up to you. But I don't know, I've just never really gotten it off, and it'd be amazing. I've trolled illusions with it every time I played them. You can just red, green, tap, destroy illusion basically. And that's pretty much the most utility I've gotten out of it. But hey, I mean, maybe I'm playing the deck wrong. I feel like I'm not, but I mean, when it's good, it's great, and when it's not good, it's just average. So 2 Kessig Wolf Runs, and real quick, I'm going to show you guys my sideboard. Let me just make sure it's all organized. Okay, so I'm using 2 proxies in the sideboard. They should be coming in soon. So up first, 3 FMRs. Day of Judgment sucks. Green White Humans, you give your guys +1/0 and trample. Punish them for shot blocking. It's a good card. It's probably gonna not be this card once the format develops a little bit more. And if wolves do become tier, then this will go back in because people are going to side in Ratchet Bombs. So it's an excellent card, prevents board wipes. It's really good against Black Infect because they're going to be getting rid of everything, so being able to recur those, even if it's just for 1 or 2 werewolves, is still pretty good. So 3 of those. 2 Torpor Orbs. Really good against that token matchup where they have those guys that spawn tokens when they enter the battlefield. I think the Golem Splicers or whatever, the Blade Splicers, really excellent card against the Birthing Pod matchup. There's just so many matchups that it's really good against. So it's just a good all-around utility card. It's 2 colorless mana, it doesn't really screw up your mana base at all. So It's good. Arc Trail against humans, against tokens, against infect, against illusions, pretty much everything. It's an excellent card. Blows up 2 creatures. Nihil Spellbomb, when guys like to get tricky with Snapcaster and other stuff like that. It's an excellent card. There's not really too many like huge, it gets rid of Chandra's Phoenix, which is a huge problem for the deck. It just gets rid of graveyards. It's an excellent card. There's like random zombie decks that you play is really good against. 2 Naturalize. Tempered Steel sucks, and this handles both of their threats, the artifacts and the enchantment. It's just excellent. Destroys, you can hit a Wormcoil, and then you won't have to deal with something as scary, I guess. It's an excellent card against Infect. You can destroy their Lash Rights, or sorry if I'm killing that name. It's like that artifact gives them +1/1 for every swamp they control. So it's a good card, and you have those random artifact enchantment decks, or whatever, and it's an excellent card against those. 2 Ancient Grudge, destroy target artifact, flashback green. It is amazing. This card is so good against Tempered Steel, so good against Infect, so good against Birthing Pod. This card just shits on those matchups. I originally was running